How are you?
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, sorry, I've been having some issues sort of, trying to switch over to use my work computer, so it was not recognizing my work email. So I had to import and get my Gmail address on here. But happily, I am here. Hopefully, everybody is doing well. Let me just see how we doing. We got quite a few people here. Let's see, Dr. Fakunle, the chair, is traveling currently, and unfortunately, our vice chair, Dr. Chavis, had a death in the family.
No.
Family has transitioned to the realm of the ancestors. So so he is not able to join us today. And so I would ask you and keep him and his family in your thoughts today. So I will be chairing and hopefully won't need your help, David, but David Armenti will also be here to help kind of make sure that we have things happening. Let me see here. Is Sophie here today with us? Let me just go through the list.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, okay. Joy, you're the one who usually takes the
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
Okay. So Joy, if you could get us started with just taking the roll call.
Okay.
Is it me or is Joy frozen?
She's like a Madonna song, Frozen, yes.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure it's not just me having tech issues again.
Or a Disney song, I'm sorry.
Okay. Let me see. Okay. Can you hear us, Joy? Okay.
Hello?
Right. Yeah, Joy, are you able to take the role of the commissioners?
Yes, but
Okay. And yes, the updated list should be on the agenda for today.
I can go ahead and do that if the
Okay.
connection is still challenging for Joy. I haven't been able to hear her.
Okay, that would be great, David. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I think like you said.
Oh, okay. Joy, are you with us?
Yes, I am trying to confirm if you guys can hear me, but because I realized nobody was responding.
Okay. I can hear you
Can you
now.
hear me?
Can everybody else?
Oh, okay.
We can hear you, but you're
Yes.
freezing a lot.
Yes.
There's some connection issues.
It's very choppy.
Okay.
All right. Let me just try. Let me just try to knock this out.
Okay. Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
David Armenti, present. That is me. Lindsay Baker.
Present.
Hello, Lindsay. Thank you. Iris Barnes.
Present.
Simone Barrett Williams.
Present.
Michelle Coles.
Present.
Nick Creary.
Present.
Roger Davidson.
Present.
Maya Davis.
I know she had said that she wasn't going to be able to be with us today.
Tisha Dupree Wilson.
Present.
Thank you. Christopher Haley.
Present.
Elizabeth Hughes.
Present.
Amy Millen. Izetta Mobley. Carl Snowden. Marshall Stevenson. And Stephanie Sewer.
Okay, so let me see. We've got 1,
So I
2.
believe we are at quorum, Nick. That's 10 by my count.
Yeah, that's a quorum.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So we can do all
Can
kinds
you
of
hear me now?
business now. Yes, we can hear you, Joy.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No worries.
I had to log out and log myself
No
back.
worries. These things happen. It took me way longer to get in than I had anticipated. You know, I guess, you know, like death and taxes, there will always be gremlins. So I would ask if there are members of the public with us today, if you could drop in the chat who you are and have an organizational affiliation, that would be wonderful. So we can have your presence recorded here for posterity. Okay, and while we were doing that, has everyone had an opportunity to look at the minutes from last month's meeting? And do we have a motion to accept the minutes from last month's meeting?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Haley. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Armenti and Commissioner Barnes. Okay, with that, we will accept the minutes from last month's meeting. And we're doing things in a slightly different order today because we have a wonderful guest with us today. Is Tiffany Tolbert of the National Trust for Historic Preservation. She is coming to us as a director of the National Trust for Historic Preservation, and she was very much involved. I would say she was one of the driving forces that made the Emmett Till Monument possible. And so I had the opportunity to meet her at the conference in Birmingham on healing from the events of 1963. And she was also able to join us for the Maryland Lynching Memorial Project conference. And I thought it would be a wonderful opportunity to have her talk to us about her work at the Trust and the work that she did, bringing us the Emmett Till Memorial, given that truth and memory are such important parts of our work here. So because she has a limited window with which to join us, we decided to move her up so that she could share her thoughts and wisdom and experience with us. So with that, I will turn things over to you, Tiffany.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here. I'm Tiffany Tolbert, Senior Director for Preservation for the African American Cultural Heritage Action Fund at the National Trust for Historic Preservation. And thank you for the invitation, Dr. Creary, to talk about the Emmett Till and Mamie Till Mobley National Monument, which I hope you all heard about, which President Biden designated in July. And so I thought I'd spend some time talking about the monument as it exists today, but also getting to the point of creating the monument. I'll share some slides in a minute, but I'll give a little background on the Action Fund. If you're not familiar, the Action Fund is a program of the National Trust, started in 2017 with a goal to support 200 projects across the country associated with African American resilience, education, life, achievement, and it has grown in its 6 years. This month, of its creation, to have supported many more projects and raised close to $90 million, which we have distributed through our grant programs, as well as doing advocacy and direct action for projects across the country, such as Nina Simone's childhood home in Tryon, North Carolina, the Robert Smalls House in Beaufort, the John and Alice Coltrane home on Long Island, New York, and by supporting projects such as the Emmett Till and Mamie Till Mobley National Monument. So our involvement with this project has been for a number of years, and it's gone through a couple of iterations. I first started working with this project in 2020 when we listed Robert's Temple Church of God in Christ in Chicago on our 11 most endangered list. And Robert's Temple is the site of Emmett Till's September 1955 funeral and extended visitation. And so at that time, members of the congregation had noticed structural concerns with the building and reached out to the National Trust for assistance. Given its significance, we accepted a nomination for 11 most endangered, and it was included on that list. And then we started working to help the church identify what were causing the structural issues they observed with the building, which were preventing them from using the sanctuary. So we engaged an engineering firm to do a structural assessment of the building, which determined that the things they were seeing were not really severe. They were of what you would see in a building of that age. It was built in 1922, 1923, and so it was mostly with water and settling. So that gave them some assurance there. But then we, through the Action Fund, did develop a plan to do some stabilization of the building in terms of and so that a full rehabilitation plan for the building could be developed. So the following year, we awarded a Action Fund grant, capital grant of $150,000 to the church to do temporary stabilization, which repaired the roof, did masonry to prevent water from infiltrating the interior, and did some protective netting in the sanctuary to catch pieces of the ceiling that were falling, as it was a life safety issue. There had already been an effort for many years to get sites in Mississippi associated with Emmett Till designated as a National Historic Site, and that included the Tallahatchie County Courthouse, the river site where his body was recovered. There were other sites indicated, such as the barn where he was murdered, the church where he was intended to be buried, and many other sites that have been identified throughout the Delta. At that time, there was sort of a lull in getting support from the congressional delegation in Mississippi for a bill in Congress that would create a National Historic Site. And so we were working with Robert's Temple, and they were connected with the efforts in Mississippi. And so it was proposed to see if we could get a bill out of Illinois to designate Robert's Temple as a National Historic Site, which would then bring in the sites in Mississippi. So Senators Duckworth and Durbin, Cory Booker from New Jersey, and Senators Hyde, Smith, and Wicker from Mississippi introduced that bill into the Senate in 2021 as well to designate Robert's Temple as a National Historic Site. And we were prepared for the National Trust to push that bill forward, hopefully getting it to a hearing. But then we got word that the Department of the Interior, the Secretary, and the President were really interested in national monument designation. For those that are not familiar, there are a couple of ways that we get to National Historic Sites within the National Park Service, or things that become a unit of the National Park Service. One is legislative action, which is what Senator Duckworth and Durbin intended by taking it through Congress and eventually having it get on the president's desk. And the other is national monument, which is executive authority given to the president through the Antiquities Act. You might have heard a lot of that bill in the last administration with Bears Ears and other action that was taken to eliminate or reduce national monuments established by previous administrations. But because of that, we knew there was an interest by this administration to really flex the full power of that executive authority. And so they were actively looking for national monuments that were ready. So they asked us to hold off on pushing the bill, the legislative route, to really work directly with the Secretary of the Interior and the Department of the Interior to prepare it for a national monument for a presidential proclamation. And that's what we did. So we spent roughly the last 18 months to 2 years working behind the scenes to prepare to get that proclamation to the president. And that involved a number of steps. One was identifying the sites that would be included in the monument. As you heard, there were a number in Mississippi. There were also a number in Chicago as well. But once we got to this point, it was about expediency. And so in order to be a national monument, the National Park Service does have to have ownership, stake, and property that's included in the monument. So we needed to identify sites that we had a relationship with the property owner. They were willing to either donate or sell the property or part of it to the Department of the Interior. So it was a lot of real estate work, really a legal real estate transaction. So it was determined after surveying all the properties that first the courthouse, the Tallahatchie County Courthouse in Mississippi and Sumner, where his killers were acquitted, was a site. Robert's Temple, Church of God in Christ would be a site. And then pretty late in the process, we got the indication that we could do the river site as well. And so those are the 3 sites that were included in the designation. In my role, I led the trust and our advocacy in providing the resources to Robert's Temple and some in Mississippi that really allowed the designation to happen. With Robert's Temple, we evaluated all of the property that the church owned, which included the church building, a parking lot, and some vacant property, to determine which they were willing to donate to the Department of the Interior. We say that Robert's Temple is in the monument, and it is, but actually the Park Service now only owns the parking lot. The church maintains ownership of the building, and we felt that was important as we were going to continue, and we are supporting Robert's Temple and restoring the building. And we felt we'd have more flexibility with fundraising and management of that project if it wasn't federally owned. And the Department of the Interior accepted that. And so the church donated the parking lot to the federal government, but they still have full access and use of it as they did beforehand. The courthouse in Mississippi, the county, Tallahatchie County, did actually sell that to the federal government with funding support from a number of entities. So the federal government now owns the courthouse, but they are still able to use it as a courthouse until other plans are made in the future. And then the river site, the Park Service owns a very small footprint that the owner of property along the river donated to the federal government, not all of the property, but a small portion of it. And so with that in place, we continue to work with Robert's Temple on the title work, doing some cleaning up of the title and the property. We had to do environmental assessments of the property as well in order for the Park Service to acquire it. And then also working on the proclamation language that the president would sign that allowed for additional properties in the future to be added to the monument or if it transitions to a national park. We also wanted to make sure that the church understood what they were donating There are covenants on the actual church building to protect it, preservation covenants. So we wanted to make sure they were truly informed about what that meant in the future in terms of use of the building, maintenance, and rehabilitation. But that all came to the end on July 25th when the president did sign the proclamation. And I'll say all of that work really came down to the last minute that Friday before, when we finally completed the real estate transfer. About 1 o'clock, I was sitting right here in my dining room at this table, kind of not believing it was all over because it was a lot of work. But that Saturday after, we received an invitation to the White House to see the president sign it on that Tuesday. I'll say that this all really was led by the Till family, Reverend Wheeler Parker Jr., the last living witness to Emmett Till's kidnapping, and his cousin who went down to Mississippi with him, who has been his life's work at 85 years old to see these sites preserved and the story not lost. And we also see the opportunity that this will not only preserve these spaces, but create the opportunity to interpret this history, Emmett Till's legacy, as well as the legacy of the activism of his mother. And so looking at the future of these sites is that we do want them to be places that tell the history not only of 1955, but Roberts Temple has a very significant history going back to the Great Migration and its role in Chicago, with Bishop Roberts creating Roberts Temple. But also we want it to be a place where people have an understanding, they're able to heal, they're able to see their role in fighting for social justice and civil rights in these spaces. So the proclamation signing, creation of the National Monument was definitely a milestone we were happy to see, but there's a lot more work. We are supporting Roberts Temple by leading the preservation planning and technical assistance with restoration of the facade and of the building. Let me share my screen really quick. Let's see. Can you all see that? I can't see your faces, but hopefully you can see this.
Yes.
Great, thank you. So you can see, of course, Mamie Till here on the left, and then Roberts Temple with the funeral there on the exterior. This you can see President, I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, but signing.
At this point, I'm sorry, this is Chris Haley. At this point, all I'm seeing is you're presenting the screen. Is everybody else seeing more than that?
No, that's all I can see.
That's all I can see as well.
Yeah.
Okay, give me a second.
It could be a loading issue if it was a video you were trying to play.
Give me a second. Sorry, Google Meet trips me up. I have to remember whether I'm on Google Teams or Zoom, and it always throws me off. Can you see the PowerPoint? What do you see?
Yes, we can see now a video screen not yet playing.
Can you see it playing?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not sure if you can hear it, but this is President Biden signing the proclamation there in the White House. You see Reverend Parker there with a red tie right behind him. Vice President Harris, Ollie Gordon by her, Till's cousin, Senator Tammy Duckworth there on the bottom right, and Dr. Parker, Reverend Parker's wife, who he gives the pin to, which was very, very exciting to be there to see in person. So it was a wonderful, wonderful day. And you can watch the proclamation signing on the White House YouTube page. But we have here, you can see the sites here, the Riverside Gravel Landing there in Tallahatchie County. You can see the courthouse here, the Tallahatchie County Courthouse, and Roberts Temple Church of God in Christ that now have temporary signage as well when you go to these sites, which is very nice to see, and there'll be permanent signage there pretty soon as well. But Roberts Temple Church of God in Christ, founded in 1916, the building was constructed in 1923. You can see the original facade as it looked in 1955 here on this slide as well, and see the interior sanctuary. In the early 2000s, the church did a renovation of the building, and so the facade was covered with this new buff brick, as well as the sanctuary was modernized and changed. So it does not appear as it did during the funeral, including they removed the balconies when they put in this drop ceiling. So, but you can still see the original facade here there on the bottom. Brick facade, and we're excited that about a month or so ago, our architects were out there doing some investigation and actually opened up 5 places on the facade to see the condition of the brick, and it's in great condition. We found an original steel window behind there. So with support from the Mellon Foundation, they've granted $2.9 million, which will support the restoration of the facade, as well as doing the interior planning for the sanctuary and to restore it. We'll be moving forward in the spring with restoring the facade. And you can see the renderings here that we're working from. And then we'll undertake planning for the sanctuary to see what fabric remains under the alterations that could be restored, or finding an adaptive use or recommendation for the sanctuary there. So I like this project. I love doing the monument, but I'm a preservationist at heart, so I love getting dirty. And so I'm excited to actually work on the building and get the architects out there, and they're loving this as well. And so we'll continue to partner with the National Park Service. They're working on the particulars of how they interpret the space, how they will staff it. There is funding in the current appropriations bill for the Department of the Interior that is creating 18 new positions for the sites for the park in Mississippi and Chicago. So we're really excited that there'll be support staff, superintendents, site directors that'll really start to stand up the park so people can have a visitor's experience. If you come to Chicago, what we ask people to do is to go to the Pullman National Park, as the rangers there can then guide people up to Roberts Temple, as it's not staffed yet. And then, of course, if you're in Sumner, Mississippi, and Tallahatchie County, you can go to the courthouse to find out how to interact with those spaces there. But there's still a lot of work to do. We hope this will be a great model. Obviously, not everything can get to a national monument status, but there is the importance of memorialization, of preservation, and doing monuments that help people to better understand this history, racial trauma, violence, civil rights, and social justice, and being able to have the places where these things occurred, I really do believe helps to guide people's understanding of this history and their role in this continued work in the future. So, thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. I really appreciate it. And I know you have a meeting to get to, but do you perchance have a little bit of time to field any questions if people on the call have questions or comments to share?
Sure, I have about 5 minutes. You'll keep me from my supervisory duties and my one-on-one with my staff. So I would love to answer questions.
Okay, thank you.
Feel free, anyone.
Well, I was wondering, Tiffany, I know that this may not be the main purview of the project, but I believe you alluded to staffing and what I assume goes along with that, interpretation and education in the spaces. So, obviously the main thing is preserving them and making sure they're usable, but would you mind talking a little bit more about either in these examples where some of that support came from to support education and staffing? Because I think, we all have concerns about making sure that some of these sites exist, but also, making sure they're active and utilized even beyond that.
Of course. So in Mississippi, the Emmett Till Interpretive Center has already been doing education, public programming, and tours for many years. And it was very important that they stayed in that role, having my heating service done. That they stayed in that role because I'll be blunt and honest with you. As I told Park Service, as we were going through this process, I asked them, I said, with this type of history, with this story, what was their experience in interpreting this history? And they were honest. They said, you know, outside of the Medgar Evers home in Jackson, which is fairly recent, national monument that President Obama did, they really don't have any sites in their network that deal with this particular history. They mentioned things more out west associated with Native Americans. And so I told them, I said, I really don't have confidence in you all to tell this story appropriately. I just had to be honest with them about that. And so I said, it's very important that you all defer and maintain relationships with those entities that have already been doing this work. And so in Mississippi, the Emmett Till Interpretive Center still leads the tour. So if you do go there, that programming is what you will experience. With Roberts Temple, outside of people just coming on their own, there was not a tourism program. There was not an educational component there. And so when we supported them putting in the request for Mellon Foundation, we also included funding to bring in a consultant to engage, to be able to develop what that story is and how it's going to be told. And so the first step of that is doing a very intense community engagement process with church members, leaders, stakeholders in the community in Bronzeville to really say, what are the themes of this story and how to tell it in an appropriate manner? Because I've said many times, you know, we don't peddle in Black trauma. You know, we're not doing this to shock people because it is a very emotional thing. And I've been to these sites. I've been to every site except the barn. I don't think I'm ready to do that yet, but I've been to the river, I've been to the other sites in Mississippi, and I've been to Roberts Temple many times. And it is something, it does something to you. And people need to be prepared for how that story is delivered to them, and not just delivered, go away, but finding space for them to reconcile with what they just learned, what they just experienced. And that has to be done in a sensitive way. And so that's what we're undertaking. The Park Service will still develop their own interpretive plan. They will do a management plan for the park, but what they're telling me now is it could be 5 years, depending on funding. My hope is that we've already established what that story is by the time they find the funding, so they really follow what the local partners and stakeholders have developed versus coming in and creating something new. It's going to be a tug of war. They can be very territorial. They're very academic sometimes in their approach, but I do believe this can set a precedent of a more sensitive, culturally appropriate way to tell this history and story. And I think it's something that has to happen on the ground with the sites and the people that live this history while they're still here.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments?
Well, you're more than welcome to visit our page, savingplaces.org/till, for updates on the project. We'll definitely be having more content come out in the new year as different parts of the project come on board, particularly with restoring the church. You're more than happy if you want to come to Chicago to see Roberts Temple. I can get you in if you like. The Park Service also working on some interpretive panels that'll be on the fence outside Roberts Temple so people can learn about it even if they're not guided by a ranger. And also the Till page on the National Park Service site is up as well. It's not as in-depth, but it is a unit of the Park Service, so people can learn about how to visit and interact with the sites there as well. So more to come. This will be a multi-year project, but very exciting. And we're really excited to get to this point because we didn't really last year, didn't really think so, but we're so happy that it was finally signed and on to the next phase.
Great. Well, thank you again for sharing your time with us and sharing your expertise. We look forward to hopefully hearing more from you. And so I will let you get back to your day.
And if you have any questions about the Action Fund or any of our programs, do let me know. We will open up our next grant round for our national grant program in December. So I'll put that in the chat. So if you know any projects that could use funding, we grant for capital, planning, programming, interpretation, and capacity building. So we'll open up the National Grant Program as well as our Conserving Black Modernism Initiative, which is a partnership with the Getty Foundation in LA. So if you know any significant sites designed by Black modernist architects, we'd love to have applications for that. But if you have any questions, someone needs some one-on-one technical assistance to prepare for an application, do let me know, and we can connect with our staff who can give them guidance. So.
Great. Thank you once again, Tiffany.
Thank you all. You all have a good day.
Okay. Bye-bye. Okay, so moving on with the rest of the agenda. Yeah, God, that was fantastic. I guess we're at public comment. So for those of you members of the public, if you would like to share any of your thoughts, and I guess we can use that as a way to wander into the soul check. And I guess since I'm in the chair, my thoughts and comments, but we'll open it to the public first. Or if you want to put them in the chat, that's fine too. Okay, or if you all want to wait and chime in later, that's fine too. I guess as I'm looking at comments and soul check, this is one of those moments where I can actually happily say, I'm really feeling excited and energized, and really happy to be here because we have new commissioners to present and introduce. And I am really excited at the prospect of working with you all. So, and again, it's, I oftentimes say I can't say this is a labor of love because I really don't love what it is that we're working with. I enjoy working with you all. It has truly been an honor to be on this journey with you all. But yeah, this is one of those moments where I feel genuinely excited. And so I think I will shut up and happily say we have 3 new at-large members of the commission: Lindsay Baker, Michelle Coles, and Amy Millen. And if you are all okay, I'd like for our new commissioners to introduce themselves and maybe tell us what it is that inspired you to come forward and join us in this work. So, Lindsay, if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about who you are and what brought you here.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Mhm.
So my name is Lindsay Baker. I come from the museum field originally, specifically small museums. Most recently, before this position, led a heritage area in Howard and Baltimore counties. And now I'm the executive director of Maryland Humanities. So I've long admired the work of the commission. And when I saw the recent call for commissioners, I felt like my position as executive director of Maryland Humanities, it might be an opportunity for me to connect the resources that we have with the work of the commission and find ways to be supportive. So that is what inspired me. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. And I am truly looking forward to working with you. Michelle.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm excited to be here. What drew me to the work of the commission is I spent the better part of my career at the U.S. Department of Justice as an attorney in the Civil Rights Division. And I worked on a lot of different matters, but one of the principal things that I worked on was related to hate crimes and looking at policy ways that we could reduce the rise in hate crimes that was taking place. And so I helped orchestrate and lead an initiative that focused on bringing community members and law enforcement together so that, we could have a better bulwark and better communication flowing between communities and law enforcement to help prevent hate crimes in those instances. And also, I wrote a book. I'm an author of a young adult historical fiction novel, and it's called Black Was the Ink. And it is the first young adult book, young adult historical fiction to introduce readers to the Reconstruction era, to be set in the Reconstruction era. And I thought that was really important because it's something that most people don't learn a lot about in school. But the things that were happening during Reconstruction, including all of the progress that African Americans were making as they were emerging from slavery and taking their place as full citizens in the United States. It has so many lessons for us today, as well as how Reconstruction was undermined and thwarted, and how the end of Reconstruction really set the stage for a lot of the inequality that we can continue to experience in modern day society. And so I wanted to write something to help young people really understand those connections between the past and the present. And so with those experiences and background, I feel like it's a really great fit for me to be here. I'm so excited about the work you guys are doing and optimistic about what lays ahead for the commission. So thank you for having me all.
Thank you. And although she is not here with us today, Amy Millen, I think, is pretty well known by many of us on the commission and many of the members of the public. I will not presume to try to introduce her to you, and I will, reserve a little time for next month's meeting so that she can properly introduce herself to us all. But as many of you know, she is a driving force behind the Baltimore County coalition of the Maryland Lynching Memorial Project, and she is a member of the Maryland Lynching Memorial Project's executive board. So she has been very much involved with the work that we've been doing for quite some time. And as I said, hopefully we'll have the opportunity to allow her to introduce herself to us properly next month. Are there other people who would like to chime in on the soul check since we're still there? Yes, Michelle, I am, from Michelle Gowrick, I'm extremely enthusiastic and optimistic and feeling very happy. And as I told Michelle in a conversation I had with her last week, I'm calling dibs for the Reconciliation Committee for Michelle. So if you all want to have the cage match, over which committee she goes on, I'm happy to do it, but I call dibs. Other comments? Soul check or otherwise? Yes, Commissioner Haley.
Hey, thank you, Nick. Yeah, I'm very excited and very happy with the fact that we have a full commission again, and I'm just really looking forward to us. I mean, I know it's November, but Thanksgiving that we can start scheduling the hearings and probably start with I'm prepared to even make a motion if that's necessary, that we pick a first hearing and we can get started with that, even if it means then going to whoever the coalition persons are, and so that we can really hit 2024 really hard and heavy so that we can get everything done within that. And we're so fortunate to have Jordana now and to have a full commission. And even with what we just heard from Ms. Tolbert, I think it was so interesting, evocative, and timely, especially considering that the Memorial Project just had their convention, and you had Clint Smith there, who spoke about how is history presented at different sites. And I think that is just right on point with what Tiffany was talking about. And I say that specifically because I just met him 2 weeks ago for Heritage of the Civil War in Frederick County, and just hearing him speak and reading the book, it's just it's a very good jumping off point, because I know he is starting to tour more, which I feel like more people are going to be aware of what he's talking about and getting that sensibility. And with us having a full contingent, I feel like, and successfully getting more money to do what we need to do, I'm really looking forward to us picking names and knocking down doors, and just is getting on the road to getting the rest of our hearings done. I think we're at 14 we need to do now. So that's what my cell is at this point. Excellent, Will.
Dr. Creary, if you're talking to us, we can't hear you. You're muted.
Oh, so sorry.
Nobody said anything. I thought it's just me.
Do that way too often, but I was just saying, yes, it is available on the YouTube side. I saw Will posted the link there. It was a phenomenal day, and if you weren't able to join us, please do take a look at it. It was just a tremendously powerful experience, and so I would encourage you all to check that out. Let's see what else is going on. Other comments? Yes, and again, it's wonderful to see so many of you that I finally had an opportunity to meet in person at the conference here today. So, barring any further comments, let us move on to committee reports. And again, I sort of, had intended for Tiffany Tolbert to, have her presentation stand in for the Reconciliation Committee. So that's our report for the month. And I don't know, David, if you have anything for the Research Committee?
Sure. Thanks so much, Nick. And also, with the announcement of new at-large commissioners, I think we would be remiss not to honor and appreciate the efforts of some of our former commissioners who were occupying those seats, notably Mr. Kirkland Hall and Omar Eaton Martinez. So, and if I'm missing anybody, please add on to that. But definitely want to thank those individuals for their multiple years of contributions, and hope to still have them as friends and collaborators as we move forward in this work.
Okay.
And then, so moving on to the Research Committee, we did have a meeting last Monday, November 6th. And again, the Research Committee, we are starting again as a monthly meeting that will take place on the first Monday of each month moving forward at 3 p.m. So you can find that information, either commissioners or members of the public can find that information on the commission website on the meetings tab. So we had a good meeting and participation there. And I'm happy to share the notes, and as I tighten those up a bit, that can be then shared on the commission page as well. And Chris Haley please feel free to chime in or add on to what I'm stating about our meeting last week. But much of it was focused on kind of re-energizing our efforts and making sure that process and collaborative workflow is understood. So reiterating the utilization of the file or collections donation platform on that's linked to the State Archives Commission hosted page. So again, we welcome members of the public as well as our collaborating coalition members, researchers, and commissioners themselves to, if you find especially primary source materials or even secondary source materials that support our understanding of the lynching cases, as well as the genealogy and family background of the victims, to connect with the commission either through that uploader or through the commission or through the commission email, mltrc@maryland.gov. So reiterating that component, also letting folks know that yes, we are collecting materials both externally as well as internally as a commission to better tell those stories, and that work of taking the materials and adding on to our existing case studies is ongoing, and we want to thank our colleagues and associated staff at the Maryland State Archives for taking on the bulk of that work. But as we talked about in the committee meeting, it's important to have all of the content, but what do we actually do with it? It's been multiple years now of collecting and compiling, so we're making sure that as that material comes in gradually, that it's then being activated and attached to the case study. So if somebody searches for one of these individuals between our page and the Memorial Project, they're going to get as much of that content as possible, ideally in the primary source form. So continuing to work through that platform and that process. Yeah, Michelle.
Thank you. I just had a question, and I know I'm coming in late, and so I don't, know a lot about what has already happened to get here. So apologize if this is something you guys have already done or considered. I was just wondering, in terms of the public being aware that we are looking for, knowledge about any lynchings, did the commission place any ads or anything in local newspapers or any way for just general people to come across the work that we're doing and would be able to reach out if something like this has impacted their family?
So I guess I can start to answer that question, but of course, any others can kind of jump in and add on. This has been a topic of discussion pretty consistently, Michelle, where we haven't, I would say, as a commission, haven't had like a comprehensive marketing plan. That has been somewhat of a gap in our work, but there have been kind of smaller periodic efforts. So whether that is there have been multiple news pieces that have been written by local media about the commission and or the Memorial Project that have, part of that messaging has been to solicit public collaboration. There have also been efforts specifically by the contracted genealogical firm Heritage Associates to advertise within the genealogical community via some of the regional newsletters and organizations like African American Historical Genealogical Society. So I just from my standpoint, I would say there have been some piecemeal efforts, but that's definitely an area for growth for sure.
Okay. And another, similar potential fertile ground I was thinking of is civil rights organizations that, are historic, that have been around for a while, as well as potentially private African American attorneys, or the descendants of those attorneys, as they may have files in their records. And another place is the Civil Rights Division at DOJ has a cold case initiative. And I know you guys work, or we've gotten funds from the OJP, BJA part of DOJ, but the Civil Rights Division in the criminal section also has an Emmett Till cold case initiative. And I wasn't sure if we had ever connected with them. Their information would be about nationwide lynchings, but I would imagine they would have a way to search their database if any of the cases that they're aware of occurred in Maryland, and that might be helpful for us to know if that's not something we've already gained access to.
And that's a great idea if I can just hop in for a moment. But to your point, and that was one of the things that I was going to bring up in new business. I think it was last month we found out that we got $175,000 from Emmett Till. And part of that was going to be dedicated to hiring a public relations professional to work on that specifically. In fact, I was going to make the recommendation that we try to put together an RFP and try to get that out by the end of the week, so that we could have that open for about 2 weeks and then see what's come in, and that would then give us enough time to look at those proposals that came in, and hopefully by this time next month select somebody and get that person on board by December, January, and be ready to go for what will hopefully be the first of the next round of hearings, because we've got things happening with Frederick County. And if we can get that ball rolling, that person in place ahead of time, we can maybe start working on that, PR side of things and getting the word out ahead of time. So that's the hope. I don't know, Jordana, I know you are here. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, other than I think that's a fantastic idea. And I definitely support it. I already have a couple of feelers that I can throw out, people literally on standby, that I would love to submit for that. So you guys let me know what your thoughts are on that, and I can hit the ground running with that little mini quest.
Okay, because I know if we're going to try to engage somebody, and this is where Kristen and Sophie, we will have to follow, I'm guessing, the state procurement or hiring process for something like that. And do you know, is there, I know we talked there is an expedited process, if I'm not mistaken, and if there is, would we be able to avail ourselves of that to try to get somebody in as quickly as possible?
Good morning, it's Kristen, or afternoon. Yeah, so the process is going to depend on the cost. What I would suggest is for a commissioner to take the lead here to work with either myself or Sophie or both of us to get this project going. But we're going to need a description of what the commission is looking for, something to put in the RFP to explain what the work would be. And then we would need an estimate of the cost, and we'll go from there. But I think first step is for one of the commissioners to take the lead on working with us to get it done.
Okay, do we have any volunteers? Come on, don't all jump at once. Anyone? Bueller?
This is Elizabeth Hughes. Can you speak to what the scope of work would be? What our deliverables sort of would be?
Sure. Off the top of my head, I would hope that, again, I saw somebody here from WMAR was in for a little bit, but that we're gearing up to have a hearing in Frederick in February, that all the local media, in Baltimore, DC, out to Frederick, out to the Eastern Shore, everybody, and maybe even getting national, networks, to pick up on that. Can we hit social media, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, that site formerly known as Twitter, run by the Afrikaner, who I try to boycott, but that is another useful way to get info. Snapchat. What's the other one? TikTok. There are ways to get information out, through these various outlets, and I think if we can start getting word out about the commission to say, hey, this is who we are and this is what we're doing, and by the way, we're having a hearing. I would hope that whoever we get is going to be savvy enough to be able to, sort of present us in those various media.
Sure.
And yeah.
So, I mean, having, worked on some of the procurements for the commission, working with OAG on this, I'm happy to work on that again, with this, for this project. So, because the state procurement system is, particular. So.
Okay, wonderful. Would anybody like to work with Elizabeth on this? She doesn't have to do it all on her own.
This is Lindsay. So when I submitted the application for consideration, I think I said I would be interested in the logistics committee, and this feels logistical. So if I can be helpful, I'm happy to jump in.
Okay, wonderful. And off, call, I've got a couple of other things, that I can share with you that, had come in, I guess, as we were preparing, for the additional funding from Emmett Till. So I will share that with you, so that you can work on the RFP. That would be wonderful. So thank you both. Okay, so we've got that. Yay. Trying to think, let's see. Other things, I know technically, I guess we're still in the research committee report. Are there other things that you wanted to share, David?
I think that was most of it. I mean, there were some more kind of in the weeds types of details related to that, unless there's anything else Chris wanted to jump in on. I know he shared his contact information as well as his colleague Hannah Lane. So just noting that for the record as well. And I can also drop my email in the chat for those that want to connect. But know that our next research committee meeting will take place on Monday, December 4th at 3 p.m. Again, that information will be able to be found on the website. That will also be a Google Meet hosted meeting by the Maryland State Archives. So thank you all for your help and support. And of course, if any commissioners or members of the public that are actively working on research, whether it's one case or 10 cases, we welcome your connection and your collaboration, and we'll make sure that folks' work is credited as well, since there are so many different entities and professionals involved in this work. So that is enough for me for now, I believe.
Okay, all right, thank you. And Reverend Teichert, we are looking for the Frederick hearing. We're looking at a date in February. That's the hope right now. And I think we're working on a venue. The local coalition has identified historic elementary school, the first school that was open to African Americans in Frederick County, certainly in Frederick City. They've identified that as a site, and they're working on making sure that we'll be able to have access to it. And so the date is yet to be determined, but we're shooting for February. I know Jordana, you had been looking at, I think, hoping for earlier in February than later. But it seemed appropriate that we should start Black History Month with, a hearing. So I don't know if you have anything you'd want to share about that, Jordy.
No, not at this time.
Okay, great.
Hey, Nick, I just want to say that's really great to hear. And I think if that's confirmed, that that's the effort, then that's what we usually try to put forth to Heritage Associates. And I think Brett is on the line, or whatever we call this.
I do believe he is.
Right, because that's how we try to focus them as far as if there's any forthcoming research and or information coming from any individual, it helps them to know that, well, this is what I targeted. So now it's definitely official that Frederick County is going to be our first one of 2024. Then we can let them know, and of course Brett's on here, that that's where the focus should be until and if something else comes up before it. Right now,
Right.
Frederick County should be that. So Brett, I will think that that's confirmed with you now. Since you're on here, and you could share it with Donna as well.
Yeah, and to that point, and again, that sort of brings us to the next bit, looking at the county liaisons. David Armenti and I have been working with Frederick County because we've, going back to when, and again, for those of you who are new, fairly early on in the commission's, process, we identified members of the commission to liaise with the local coalitions of the Maryland Lynching Memorial Project. And again, it's those collaborations, that have really enabled us to stage the hearings that we've done thus far. And so early on, David and I were working with Frederick and Carroll counties, and early on, Carroll seemed to be a bit more organized and moving, and Frederick kind of took some time getting together, and over time that seems to have reversed. But it brings up the issue that we need to update that list of which commissioners are liaising with which counties. And it's something that we've brought up in conversation a number of times. And again, I don't know if we want to try to resolve that here on this current call, or if it's something that we need to at least bring up, with the intention of kind of finalizing that next month. But I think we do need to start that process now and hopefully resolve it as quickly as possible. So, Chris, you have your hand up.
I am so all about that idea, Nick. I am so overjoyed. I could jump up and down and clap right now for that idea. Will was very, very kind and generous to send me what was I think the most up to date, but I think that one was 2021 or something.
Yeah.
So it's been a minute, and so for ourselves, because again, we're trying to document this for the future, and for the present, quite frankly, so that we know who we're contacting, who should be the point of contact, and who Jordana knows is a contact from our commission right now. So certainly we don't have all the commissioners here, but I'd be absolutely down if just for all the commissioners here, just state which commissions which coalition, which counties you are now affiliated with, and I will write it down with my broken fingers. And I'll start off by saying I'm with Anne Arundel County. That's my coalition that I'm assigned to. I don't know of being with anyone else. I'm in the Prince George's County Coalition. I'm a member of that. So I'm not actually the liaison, but I am a member of the Prince George's County. But I am the liaison for Anne Arundel County. So Chris Haley, there I am.
Okay, great. And I have been working with Frederick and Carroll counties.
Okay. Okay. David, have you been working on those two as well? You and Nick? Frederick and Carol?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe that Chair Fakunle had tried to collect this information earlier this year. So not that we shouldn't do it again here, but there may be a later than 2021 update if we circle back with him. But yes, for myself, Carol and Frederick have been my assignments.
Okay. I do think that David did do that, but I don't have it. And I know I looked in my emails to try to find same. So this is very helpful, at least for a starting point. And maybe because it's one of those things where like you have everything done and then your supervisor walks in, oh my goodness, now I can't find it. So maybe it's one of those things that we make this effort and then all of a sudden I'll find it. So.
Yes, hopefully that was one of the things that I was hoping that we would be able to get funding so that we could have all of the hearings transcribed, so that, thinking with an eye to the Reconciliation Committee, this way we would have transcriptions so that we don't have to keep going back to the recordings, and we could be able to access the text of the hearing. So yes, that will be something that we'll hopefully be able to talk about, finding someone to engage in that process. And Reverend Teichert, I do not recall. Do we know who is the liaison for Prince George's County?
I think one was Omar. I think he was one of the liaisons for Prince George's County. I don't know. See, Maya and I both joined it because we lived there, and neither of us was officially the liaison. Does anybody else on this call recall who specifically was the other person? Because it's supposed to be two for everyone. Because Carl Snowden is also the one for Anne Arundel County along with me.
Okay.
This is Lindsay. I live in Prince George's County, just an FYI. So happy to be that if needed.
Well, since Omar is now no longer on our commission and Lindsay is, do we have to put a motion forth for maybe Lindsay to become the liaison? How can we do that right now?
You say I don't recall us voting on that. I think it was just if that's what you wanted to do, then by all means go for it. And I would say if Lindsay wants to be the liaison for Prince George's, then she's got it.
Well, to be fair, I'm not exactly sure what a liaison or liaisoning entails in this instance, but putting my name out there for now.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
So
yes, it's basically working with the local coalition and with our project manager Jordana Claiborne to prepare for the hearing. As I said, and as you'll see, especially if you look at the recordings of the hearings that we've had thus far, the local coalitions play a tremendous role in helping us to stage these hearings. I mean, they're quite an undertaking, and it's we thought it was good to have somebody from the commission to work with the project manager and to work with the local coalitions. And Will, your hand is up and you could probably better explain it than I.
Sorry. No, I was just going to mention, I was looking at the most recent list that I have, and actually Simone was one of the two liaisons for PG County as well. It was Simone and Omar.
Okay.
So, but yeah.
Do you guys have that list available?
I sent one to Chris, right? I mean, if that's
yes,
the one you
do.
want, it's
2021, right?
No, actually it's 2022, but who's counting? Yeah.
Simone, your hand was up.
Yes. If you would like for me to be on the PG County Commission again, or do whatever PG County needs me to do, I'll do that.
Okay, great. All right. Okay, so yes, and I know Reverend Tykert is on the call, so I presume the three of you will find a way to start talking with one another and hopefully get things moving on that front too.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I mention just one more thing as long as my microphone is open? I was just going to mention that at the conference, 4 of the local coalitions actually presented, and it was pretty interesting. And for the commissioners who did not get a chance to see that, it might be worth your while just to go back to that section at least to take a look and see what the other what the groups are doing. PG County did a wonderful presentation, as a matter of fact. As
bar.
Say again.
They raised the bar on the presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I think it would, especially for the new commissioners, it would be helpful, I think, for you guys to have a look at that. And as I mentioned on the landing page of our website is a directory of when certain events happened in the conference, by the time code. So then you can just go and scroll to whatever it is you want to see. So.
Okay, thank you, Will.
Yep.
Yes, Reverend Tykert. I think you're muted.
Thank you. Following in Dr. Creary's footsteps here.
Always a dangerous gamble.
So I would like some clarification. What we need as a coalition is liaisons from the commission to us, not commissioners to join us. And it would be helpful, I think, for those of you who are liaisons from the commission to other county groups to provide Lindsay and Simone with some direction for what you want the commission to do with us. That would be helpful to us. We don't know exactly what we need until you show us what you will provide, I guess. And it's great that we have Chris and Maya who live here in our coalition, but that's not the same thing as having liaisons to us from the commission, if you don't mind my trying to make a distinction there. And thanks for the plug, Will. Yeah, we thought Lula Beatty did a great job at your conference. We're so proud of her. And well, we weren't surprised, but
she's a rock star.
She is.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, Simone?
Yes. I just wanted to know, what did she mean by liaison from the commission? Exactly what do you want the commission to assist PG County with?
Can I step in for a second? Because I think the idea originally was that commissioners would be assigned to coalitions to help the coalitions with the staging of the hearings that were coming, right? They were all assigned based on, at one time, there was a plan to have not one hearing per county, but combining some counties and so on and so forth. So there were 2 commissioners for each hearing, and the hearings included, it could have been a single coalition, as in Anne Arundel, because they had 5, which is Chris and Carl. But others were combined because there were fewer number, or they happened so long ago that there's going to be less material available anyway. But the idea is that it was behind the idea of having liaisons was to be able to work with the local coalition to be able to put on the hearing. That's really what it was about.
Yeah, because that was before we brought on Stephanie as project manager, who handled a lot of those in the weeds, nitty gritty logistical details, working with the logistics committee. So yeah, that was so as it has evolved, the commissioners are working with the local coalition as well as the project manager to figure out, things like, venue, making sure that they've got, everything that we're going to need there in terms of technology to make sure that it's being, broadcast and recorded, and that we have the sound equipment and those sorts of things. Are working with the local coalition to figure out what their interests are, because as you look at those different hearings, each local community had different things that they wanted to foreground and bring to the to the table, finding potential expert witnesses to present testimony, possible working with Heritage Associates to find possible descendants of either victims or members of the lynch mobs. So again, it's to sort of to develop that collaboration and to support the local coalitions.
I would just go one step farther, and I mean the commission, the coalitions really provide the content for the hearings. I mean that's and so there's a lot of work that happens at the coalition level. So I think the idea behind the liaison was to be able to not only to help the coalitions in that put that all together, because they're going to know well anyway.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to know community and going to be able to tap into those local communities, who are going to be able
the local communities, right? So
So, Tisha, you had your hand up.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I was just going to I see that Hannah just put it in the chat. I was going to echo that maybe we should publish a list of the liaison assignments on our website. I know I live in Anne Arundel County, but I am assigned, I believe, to Montgomery County and Howard County because I took over the assignments for Dr. Clue. So I just want to, I think it would be beneficial to us and to the public to know who's assigned to which county.
Yes. No, I think that's a great idea. And I think the sooner we can get this finalized, and again, I'm thinking, hey, if you're here, you get your pick. And if you're not, well, you work with what's left over. But yeah, I think to the extent that we can hammer out as much as we can, with the folks that are here, then let's do that. And we can, fill in with other folks as we're able to. The other thing that, and again, I will bring this up again, we have 3 counties where lynchings happened, where we do not have local coalitions of the Maryland Lynching Memorial Project. And so we're going to need to get creative on that front to figure out how, where, and with whom we can work to stage those 3 hearings. Or so that is also something that is very much at the back of my mind.
So we do have contacts with people who have talked about doing that at one point, and I think I've passed them along, but I can easily again. But Reverend Tykert asked which counties they are. It's Caroline, Calvert, and Queen Anne's.
Yeah.
So which counties don't have representatives from the commission?
Well, no, everyone, technically, all the counties have representatives from the commission, but I think
liaisons, I mean.
Yeah. I think a lot of that has been just lost in the translation a little bit, but I mean, I think the important ones to concentrate, obviously, are those where there have not yet been hearings. There have been hearings in 5 counties so far.
So
I understand. Yeah. So the counties that have not yet had hearings, would that help?
Yeah, let's start with that.
Okay. So it's Calvert and St. Mary's, which should be, could be a single hearing. There was one victim in each county, and they were both in the late 19th century. So while there's not a there are people that are active in Calvert County, but I wouldn't say there's a coalition yet there. The people in St. Mary's County are very active and it's
the list you shared with me. If I mean, I
Yeah.
posted, I could share it right now, and then maybe
Karen's-
that means I
That
can't
would
see
be most
anybody.
Yeah, that would be helpful because I feel like it's disconnected.
Okay. Okay. Do we see this now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. All right. Now I this is Google, so I think I could type in right now if we want to say things.
So based on this list, it looks like there is a liaison to every county.
That was the idea.
Was it?
But we've lost people, and I guess
Like, this is Iris, like, we don't have Gary Norman. And so we need help with that. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. So someone, we need another person there.
And we don't have anyone for well, because Janine has resigned, and and Omar is no longer, as we know, but we have Lindsay there. I'm putting your name in there, Lindsay.
And did Baltimore County have a different liaison?
Baltimore County had our hearing.
Yeah.
And you already had the hearing.
So really, in that block, you really only have to worry about Hartford, and Cecil, which is you, Iris, right?
Yep, I'm Hartford.
What
And
about
I took
Elgin
over-
Clue?
I
What
took
about
over
Elgin
for
Clue
Elgin.
in Montgomery
I took
County?
over for Elgin Clue in Montgomery and Howard. Taisha.
Now I'm probably gonna spell it wrong, Taisha, just so you know that.
E first. E first.
See, I told you. At least
It's okay. I'm used to it.
So the only ones that are missing liaisons is St. Mary's, Queen Anne's, Hartford, and Cecil. Is that right?
Yeah.
You know, Somerset already had its hearing as well, so that's not as urgent.
And is there any significance to the fact that they're in blocks, like
Well,
separated?
That was how they were grouped. The original, as I mentioned earlier, the original thought was they didn't want to have a hearing in 17 different counties. They wanted to combine some of them. That's the way it came to us at the time, at least. This was in 2019. So that's why they're broken up in the way they are. That was the original concept, was to have them, each of those blocks represents a hearing, a separate hearing.
Chris, would it be possible to highlight the counties that have not yet had their hearings?
No way. Okay, let me see if I can do that. Let's see.
Calvert and St. Mary's, Allegheny had its. It was the first one.
Yeah.
Right, that's right. Okay, how can I do this? Okay, I know it. I can do it this way. Where is your color? So I put red for, well, I don't know. I'll put red. That's obvious.
Yeah.
Okay. And so Frederick, not yet, but that's coming.
Carroll and Frederick.
So the upcoming Frederick hearing covers Carroll also?
Well, that's I don't know.
To be determined.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Carroll is not ready.
And that's not the only situation where there's been pushback about the proposed combination of counties. I don't know how much we really want to get into that here. That might be a logistics committee discussion, but I know that was the original intention, but folks on the county level have pushed back on that in multiple instances.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also Howard and Montgomery, Chris, and PG. And Hartford and Cecil, and those are the last two.
What do the numbers mean again, Will? What it?
Those are the number of lynchings that we have
Gotcha,
documented.
right.
Yeah.
How would okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So because we had 7, right? 1, 2.
Had 7 what?
7 hearings.
No, we've had 5 hearings.
5.
Oh, it's been 5.
Yeah.
But we had a couple of. No, didn't we? Did we
I don't
have?
see.
So maybe Amy could join the Baltimore Hartford Cecil, since it's the only one with 3 counties and 1.
And we've already had
Baltimore's had it, so it'll only be Hartford and
That's
Cecil.
true, but anyway.
If there are not counties on this list, is it because we haven't identified a lynching there?
It's because there are no documented lynchings in that county. There were 17 counties where we know that lynchings occurred. They are all listed here, I hope. 5, 6, 7.
If you want, you could put me down for you could put me down for any St. Mary's, Kent, or Queen Anne. Any of those sound good?
Who was that?
That was Michelle Coles.
Okay.
So
I
whichever
thought it
one
was-
is more pressing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Jacqueline Bullock.
Chris.
Is that still right?
No, this is Emily. Chris, Jacqueline Bullock was the representative in the past for the Lewis Museum. It's now
Right.
Dr. Izetta Mobley.
Right. Okay. Is that 2 S's? I'm not remembering that.
The Z. I think she spells it with a Z.
Yeah.
Right.
But I don't know if you're just assigning people for where they used to be, or you're asking people where they feel they yes.
I'm willing for both, either or, whichever people feel committed to right now at this moment. This will be our updated list until we get the other people who aren't on the call today. So does that, at least as far as those of us who are here today, does this seem right? Probably Izetta would need someone else, I would think. And Iris too, certainly. Not that you can't handle it all, Iris. I'm just saying, just to be fair.
Well, thank you, Chris. But yes, I would like some assistance, a partner.
You could put me down for one of those as well, either Ken or Queen Anne. This is Michelle Coles.
Okay.
Oh, and I forgot. There's so many people not at the meeting today. I forgot. There'll be other people that can sign up. So if we don't get people, then you can put me
I was
down.
going to say, let's put you down, and then if we need to, put somebody else in one of those spots, that's fine. But I would say let's go with the coverage.
Okay. I'm thinking right now, Michelle, since you're a newbie, and I guess since you're a newbie, I can put you with Iris Barnes. Otherwise, I was going to put you here with Izetta since Izetta's not here right now. So at least we'd have somebody there.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should just wait though, because it seems like everyone only has one, and there's 5, 6 people not here. It might make sense to just leave it open so that people can volunteer, and then we can circle back if no one fills those spots.
Can I put you down tentatively then?
You could, but I just don't know if someone will volunteer for it if they see a name there. So.
Okay. I'll just put you down tentatively.
Yeah. Yes.
And to respond to Reverend Tykert's comment, yes, we should probably think about separating them out because here again, we're not sure where, actually the folks in Carroll County were talking about trying to have sort of a preliminary meeting in December. So I think they were talking about sort of in the space between Christmas and New Year's. So yeah, I would be okay with separating them. I think, yeah, that was a big issue when we were initially talking about things. There was, as David had pointed out, some resistance to the joining them together, and we may well find that again. And that I think would be a useful thing for the liaisons to figure out and to report back, if that's in fact the case, or if, say, for example, Calvert and St. Mary's want to work together, let's find out about that and let's plan accordingly. Frederick and Carroll are probably going to be going separately, so let's see if we can do that, but then start planning out a tentative calendar for next year.
Are we still working with EJI? I know they weren't involved with the hearings, but just wondering about that in terms of marker and just along the line of what our activities that we plan.
So we just met with them actually last week. We were down there on this trip, the civil rights trip that we had sponsored, which was phenomenal, by the way. So we did get a chance to meet with people from EJI. So I think it looks like they're coming back into the business, into the Community Remembrance Project business. I don't think it'll be I think they're not going to be as hands-on as they were in the past, which is, good and bad, I guess, for the coalitions. But yes, they are working again with coalitions, and it's not going to be set up the same way. They're not, where we used to have people assigned to us, that kind of thing. That's not going to be how it works. And by the way, Elliot Spiller said to say hello, Iris.
Is he?
I saw him. I saw him. No, he isn't. But I saw him when I was down there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd love to connect with him. So it won't be one-on-one. We won't have a person. Do you have an idea of how it may
So
operate?
I think they will. It depends. I think you will have a person to work with. On a community remembrance project. It's not going to be someone who, we had Elliot and Bree, for instance, who worked on us, with us for the community remembrance projects, but also, just other general stuff. So I think it'll be like a task oriented thing. I just don't know, to tell you the truth, but that's the impression I got. And I'm happy to follow up with any, coalition that wants that assistance.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it looks like we have the beginnings of that. I was going to say, Chris, if you could send that to me via email, I'll make sure that it gets to David Fakunle, and we can include that with the minutes, since this will be a useful piece to have, and then that way people can see that hopefully ahead of time, and if they want to change or if they haven't selected, then we can hopefully get them filled in by next meeting and be ready to go with the liaison process.
I definitely will. Hannah's going to help me redate it, so I'm not copying anything over, but I would definitely do that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anything else on the liaison process? I mean, I think we've gone a good bit of the way there on getting that locked down. I guess the next thing we have on the agenda is the recap of the Reconciling the Past, Building the Future event. I know David Fakunle had attended that. Who else from the commission participated in that? And if you are here, would you be willing to share what that event was like? And if not, then we will just carry that over to next month's meeting under new business. Okay. Barring anybody sharing on that front, I guess that brings us down to announcements. Do we have announcements? Yes, Will.
I've got actually a few. First of all, I just wanted to get back about to David Armenti still here? All right, so whoever's working with that research thing, I just want to make sure that you all know when you get to Frederick County that Dean Herron has written a wonderful monograph about the 3 lynchings that occurred in Frederick County, and so that work is exemplary. So you don't want to miss that. I do also want to just give a shout out to the Montgomery County Commission on Reconciliation and Remembrance, or Remembrance and Reconciliation. I can't remember what the order. What they had yesterday, they installed 2 markers. The county did itself for 2 of the 3 lynching victims in the county. They're John Diggs Dorsey and Sidney Randolph, who were both taken from the Montgomery County Jail, which was at the site of where the county council building is now, and that's where the the thing took place. I know it was recorded, and I'm sure it'll be available on Montgomery County cable. But they did a wonderful job, and if you're ever in that neighborhood, it's worth dropping by. Also, 2 weeks earlier, there was the Montgomery County LMP had a marker installation in Poolsville at the site of the George Peck lynching, and similarly, that's already been posted, that recording, and I can get that. The other thing I wanted to mention is that when we're talking about the archives, we are, as many of you know, we are creating a digital archive of material related to lynching in Maryland, and that is moving along really quite well, as a matter of fact, and we expect it to be up and functioning, I would say, by the summer, at the rate they're going. So just to keep that in mind. And one part of that is going to involve, we're going to be doing some crowdsourcing of some of the ingestion of the material. So I'll have an announcement about that coming up, hopefully before next month's meeting, and I'll share it with everyone. But certainly everyone who is in an academic setting or, among people who might be interested in this, it'll be, I think it'll be a cool project for people to become a part of, basically just to go out, and when we know there is certain material that needs to be digitized and added to the archive, we'll send people out. We've got a scanner and instructions for the whole thing, so that'll be kind of fun. And that's it. Those are my announcements. Thank you.
Thank you, Will.
Yep.
Anybody else have anything to share? Okay, speak now or forever hold your peace, or at least for the next month. Hannah, we have a comment. Will, you've got a question from Hannah?
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed it.
Yeah, sorry.
Baltimore County. Is the Baltimore County Coalition project a full? Are you talking about the archives?
Yes, I am. I was just curious.
Yeah. No, it's a Maryland Lynching Memorial Project.
Okay, great. All right. Well, hearing no further announcements, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Okay, do we have a second?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, well, I officially call this meeting adjourned, and thank you all for coming, and look forward to seeing you all next month. So thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Do the same.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Well. you, everybody. Have a